Hey everyone, in this video I'll just give a quick overview of what an array is. So take this simple example I've got three variables for flavors of ice cream. Each variable is a string and they're declared separately. Now an array allows us to create multiple either primitives or objects, and we can do that with one statement where we declare the array and then one statement where we allocate memory. So let's convert this example where we have three separate string variables into an array. Now using an array, we call each primitive or each object an element of the array. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a string array, we'll call it flavors. And this first line declares the array called flavors. Now in an array, each element is stored contiguously in memory. So we do need to allocate enough memory for all of the elements we're going to store in an array before we begin adding elements. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another line. We're going to say flavors equals a new string array, and we're going to allocate enough for 3 elements. So this is where we're actually declaring flavors as a string array. This is where we're allocating enough memory for 3 string elements. Okay, now we can go ahead and add our flavors, and the way I'll do that is to reuse this code here. So I'll change these to flavors. Now the way that we access an individual element in our array is to use what's called a subscript, also known as an index. The way we do that is in Java we use square brackets. So we've got the name of the array, and then in square brackets we have the subscript for the element that we're using. So in this case, we're going to assign the value vanilla to the first string element in our array. Notice that in Java, arrays start with subscript 0. So for an array of length 3, we're going to have elements or index or subscript 0, 1, and 2. Okay, another nice thing about arrays is that we can process it programmatically. So instead of going through each variable and hard coding the name of the variable, what we can do is we can create a loop with a variable that we can use to indicate what subscript we're using. So we'll say I is less than. And there's a property of an array called length that gives us the number of items or the number of elements in our array. And notice that, if we say flavors.length, it's going to give the value 3. So we want to process from I is 0 to less than 3. So we're going 0, 1, 2, and then ending before we get to 3. Okay, and then to access an individual element in our array again, we're going to use I to indicate what subscript we're on. Let's go ahead and run this. So we'll save it and run it, and you'll see that we've actually created 3 string elements in an array called flavors. We've assigned values to each element in our array, and then we're creating a loop that goes through and processes each element in the array. Remember that each of these elements is stored contiguously in memory. Remember that we are declaring the array in this line as a string array. Then we're actually allocating memory for 3 string elements in this line. So you can see the advantages. One, you don't have to, if you had 1,000 string variables, you wouldn't need 1,000 lines of code to declare separate variables. In the same mind, we don't need 1,000 lines to process each element. We would just use a loop to go through each element. So that's a quick overview of arrays. Thanks.